All right, let's wrap up Picard season 2. Let's get our thoughts. Let's rock it. Yes, welcome. It's the Real Brian Show, and we're you know, we had to talk about Picard there. Why am I in this?
Don't
accent?
you know? Well,
it.
you went to Minnesota last week, did you not?
Yeah, it happens. But
Boy, my Minnesota accent's awful.
I was up there, and then I was kind of like, hey, no, actually, now I'm getting into my Chicago accent, like wash my car, and but I'm from Iowa. I only work in outer space. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it. It's exciting. So, you know, we talked about Picard. Was it last week already? My gosh, it was last week.
Only last week?
God, I know. It was like,
really?
Was it really that? Man, well, we were going to talk about Halo, and then we just thought, well, hold on, let's finish the series first.
Right.
Then we were going to talk about Moon Knight, and we're like, I don't really have a whole lot to say. I liked it. It was great. But I do have more to say about Picard, even though it's only been 2 episodes since we talked last. So let's figure that.
Let's do it.
Let's finish it. Let's figure it out, too, because there's a few things we got to figure out. But let's finish it out. Let's have some fun. And, yeah. So, Captain. What did you think of, what? I'm going to get into Sean Connery now. What did you think of your mother? I mean, Picard and his mother. Yes.
Why don't you ask him? He's on my lap right now. Hey.
Picard's on your lap. Oh. No, what did you think of the last 2 episodes?
So, here's what I thought about Picard. You know, as I said in the last review, that I thought it was okay. I thought season 1 was more engaging. There was more going on. I liked season 1 better, but 2 was fine. Until the last episode of season 2. And the writers for Picard, in my opinion, took a giant dump on the last episode. Okay. It was that ridiculous especially at the end of the episode.
Really?
When they wrapped everything up, it was almost like they were like, okay, let's just wrap everything up as quickly as we can. Don't care how messy it is, and just put it in the books.
Okay. See, I didn't think you were going to say that. See, this is what I love. One of the things, in fact, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say that Captain and I do not show each other our notes first. The whole hit record and see what happens thing applies here, because I want to be surprised by Captain's thoughts, and I want him to be surprised by mine. I thought you were going to say that you liked it, and that you're like, wow, they took a dump. So you thought it was okay, and now you're saying, wow, that just sucked.
I really hated the last episode and how they tied everything together at the end, especially once they, I thought the whole thing with, that whole catharsis with Q and, Q and Picard making up at the end, almost making out at the end.
Oh yeah.
that was redeeming. That was satisfying to me. But then once Q snapped his fingers and they were back back where they started, the reveal at the end, which we won't tell you, but the big reveal at the end of who was attacking the. Okay,
we're spoiling. We're spoiling. Yeah, so spoilers. Go for it.
When it turns out that Jurati / Borg Queen was the one who had hijacked their ships when Q transported them all into that other alternate reality, and all the hijinks ensued. Once you find that out, and then everything happens, bam, 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 and it's over. It's like they find out it's her. They're like, hey, it's good to see you again. Let's all work together. They line up all the starships with the new Borg ship. It's not a cube anymore.
Yeah.
They all combine their shields together to block this unprecedented stellar event.
Yeah.
And which was right next to the ships, by the way. I mean, it's just more of that. It was really dumb with a capital D sci-fi writing. It was it was almost inexcusably dumb sci-fi writing, in my opinion.
Interesting.
It was just too meh. It was kind of like, it reminded me of the new Star Wars writing. It was just kind of meh. You're gonna like this because it's Star Wars, and we don't care how creative it is. We don't care about all the plot holes. Just here you go. And it's like a giant middle finger to everybody, all the fans, in my opinion.
You bring up a really good point, though, and I wanted to say that I think the issue here with, well, okay, first of all, yes, you see them pulling up the star charts, and the ships are here, and the star chart, this whatever this anomaly is over here, and they were already there, so you didn't see them necessarily travel to the location quickly, which of course the Borg can do that. They can open a transwarp conduit and they can go there.
Yeah,
but you're right. They weren't there already. And it was kind of like, oh my gosh, this is unlike anything we've ever seen before. It's, we don't even know what the Borg doesn't even, they don't know what it is either. So it's kind of like, okay, well then, how did you just easily stop it then?
Yeah, and they're also really like, if we don't stop this anomaly, it's going to destroy the entire quadrant of this galaxy.
The entire everyone. Right? Yeah. Then that was it. And they just put up their shields and they're good.
And so they put up their shields, and then there was like this ejection flare from this anomaly that's very directional, by the way. That hits their shields, and they barely stop it, and then everyone's happy, and it was just too uncreative. Honestly, it was just I
agree.
They ended it with a whimper instead of a bang, and they really should have ended. You should end any season, especially of a sci-fi show, with a bang, whether it's going to continue in another season or whether it is the finale of the series. You should end it with a bang because it's sci-fi and it's action and it's, I don't know what they were thinking, to be honest. So.
Well, no, I mean, you're right. And I didn't really think about it that way because I just was I was distracted by the whole Q and Picard interaction. And to me, that was touching, man. That was beautiful.
It was.
As a
and I think they counted on that.
Yeah, as a TNG fan, like to me, that was one of the most amazing things I've seen yet because they've been at odds with each other for so long. And so to see that was, it was amazing how, Q gave him that whole gift. Like, this was all about forgiveness, yours. I wanted you to be free of your past. I mean, that is an amazing gift, right? And then it's like, Q's, I'm going to die alone. And Picard's like, no, you're not. I mean, okay, some people, that's sappy. No, dude, that was amazing because that entire history between those two, that was really an amazing thing. And I was blown away by that. And to me, that was some of the best, to me, writing in Star Trek that I've seen in a long time because of that. So I was distracted, actually. And so in that whole little scene at the end, I was kind of like, man, they should have ended the season on that hug from Picard. He snaps his fingers. Credits.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, that would have been amazing.
And I would have had a lot less to complain about. Also, what was with the whole very gratuitous Wesley Crusher appearance?
Bizarre.
I mean, he like hired what's her name as this traveler. I mean, it's almost like they were trying to tease another branch television show. And maybe they are, but but throwing it where they did was very disjointed. And I mean, it really was, almost inarguably poor writing on that last episode, except for the Q part.
Again, another good point. So first of all, I was like, hey, Will Wheaton, yay, he's on the show. I was excited.
Right. I was
Wesley.
Like, hey.
And also I'm really excited for him having become a traveler because that was part of the whole journey, and it actually happens and he's doing it. And that's great. So
was the Travelers a thing? Was that something part of the lore?
Oh yeah, big time. So that was season 1, where No One Has Gone Before was the name of the episode when the Traveler first came in. And then there were other things throughout the entire series indicating that Wesley was going down that path and becoming a traveler and stuff. Okay. It was just neat to see some of a culminate. Oh, it was amazing because the Traveler. So if you haven't seen it yet, go back and watch that episode. It's basically they go beyond the warp barrier in it. It was a neat episode. It's a fun one. Season 1 though, and it's cheesy.
Season 1 of TNG.
TNG, yeah.
Okay.
And it basically the Traveler he notices Wesley because Wesley is so brilliant, and he thinks beyond dimensions, according to this episode, and so the Traveler takes interest in Wesley. That's about it. Then he comes back, and then there's additional stuff that goes on, later in the series and stuff like that, which, I won't go into all that. But the point is that the interest that the Traveler took with Wesley was because of Wesley's extraordinary brilliance. And it wasn't flippant. It was very planned. It took time. So seeing Wesley as the Traveler, that was cool.
Cool. Okay.
But I had 2 problems with it. One, Corey is... Really? Is she really that brilliant? We don't know anything about her. Like, I get why Wesley was chosen. I don't get why Corey was chosen. That was weird. And it was just like, oh, welcome. Okay, cool. Well, that's it? That was weird. Wesley had to go through a little bit more. That was one thing that kind of bothered me. The second thing, no offense, Will Wheaton. I love you. I absolutely love Will Wheaton big time.
We're never going to offend Will Wheaton.
I'm worried that he hasn't acted in a while. That was very poor acting. I don't know what happened. He was smiling in a very awkward way the whole time. The way he was saying things, I'm like, I don't know what that was. It was weird. And I nothing against him at all, by the way. Like I said, I love Will Wheaton. It was just one of those like, that was weird. I don't know if it's because he hasn't acted in a while and so he just wasn't used to it, or if the writing was kind of weird, but he was just like, hi, welcome. It's so good. And I'm like,
that's all directing as well. So
but it was so weird. It just didn't feel right. It felt, I don't know. It felt off. So I don't know what happened there. All I know is that it just kind of felt bizarre and weird. And that whole scene, it's like, okay, I love Wesley. Yay, cameo. But the whole scene was like, what just happened and why did that happen?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there was so much about that last episode that was very disjointed and like almost thrown together last minute, almost like, oh, we're out of time. We can't tell all the rest of this story. So we're just going to throw it all together and hope it sticks.
Here's another problem.
It didn't stick with me.
No, here's another problem right here. I'm going to bring this book up. This is a book that was written back in the 90s. It is Star Trek Chronology, The History of the Future. Now,
you would have that book, right?
Of course I would. I have a lot of old good Star Trek books. I have a good time with them. So Denise and Michael Okuda wrote this book, and Michael Okuda was part of the Star Trek the Next Generation Technical Manual for the USS Enterprise and stuff like that. I mean, these are old books. I mean, I don't even know if you can find them anymore, but I got to tell you that it was kind of cool when you could get them because they're fascinating. This was written based on Gene Roddenberry's canon timeline. It was not just made up for the heck of it. Like they actually had Gene Roddenberry's thoughts in here. Okay. So, Noonian, no, it wasn't Noonian, Soong, whatever, I can't remember which iteration he is. The Soong, Brent Spiner, he's like, oh, well, everything went to hell. So Project Con. And I went, okay, yay. It's going to be all about, con, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
Well, here's the problem. It's 2024 when he pulls out Project Con. According to this book, which is the history of the future as Star Trek has been written, in 1992. First of all, by the way, let me just show this. They talk about meeting Guinan for the first time in the 19th century, where we talked about that. And Data met Guinan too, by the way. And so Guinan was on Earth 472 years prior to being aboard the Enterprise D as the bartender, of course. So it's there. I wasn't making that up either. So they changed that. So in 1992, Khan Noonien Singh rises to power. He's already born, and he assumes dictatorial control over 1/4 of the planet Earth, blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
Now, he is a product of genetic engineering and genetics experiments, but this was in 1992. Okay, we're in 2024, and now he's looking at Project Con, and it's kind of like, what? And then the eugenics wars happened in the 90s.
They're hoping that nerds like you don't remember this stuff. That's all they're doing. I mean,
there's a lot of Star Trek nerds that remember this stuff, though.
I'm sure, but it's problematic for them to write, for them to say, okay, we're going back to 2024, which is in our future right now.
I know.
But then to tie it all together, they had to screw with the timeline and the dates. They had to. Or they didn't.
They didn't have to, though. They could have written this whole past taking place in what is Gene Roddenberry's future.
Or Star Trek's past, yeah.
Yeah, Star Trek's past.
Not our past.
It would be the future of, well, yes. So they could have done that, and they could have talked about how Soong was responsible for Khan's rise, and Khan had already done all this damage, but now Soong was working on other genetics projects, which were leading more towards Data, that kind of thing. They could have done that. They didn't have to be, let's just retcon the whole thing and pretend like it didn't exist. So... And again, the other thing is like, it's okay if you're going to do that if you explain why it changed. But to just throw it toss it under the rug and hope nobody notices is
irresponsible.
It's irresponsible and lazy, and I have a problem with that. But again, the touching scene, all of that, and then coming back and talking with Guinan, and Guinan not being able to tell Picard back in the past, things like that. That all made sense. There was a nice tie together. The parts of the soundtrack were, in fact, I liked the soundtrack better this season than season one, and the same guy, by the way. But I liked it because he would bring in some of the Next Generation themes periodically. Yes. He brought in themes from Star Trek First Contact, which is one of my favorite soundtracks of the Star Trek universe. And so they tied that in together. It was really nice. There were, the whole idea where that was the only timeline where Talon would meet Renee. I mean, that was neat too. So I'm thinking about some of the stuff that actually tied everything together was really, really nice. And I loved that. But you're right. The end, it was an underwhelming finale. it should have been, again, it should have ended where Q snaps his fingers and it's like a bright white, and then it goes to the credits, and that's going to start season 3. And then they could have done something with, okay, what happened to Girardi or whatever. But again, I think some of this was thrown together because Alison Pill, at least what I just read, she got fired from Star Trek, and so she's not going to be in season 3. That's what I heard. I don't know anything else. I don't know if that's 100% true or not. But if she was fired from Star Trek, then they had to throw something together and say goodbye to her as quickly as they could because, well, that storyline is now changed.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No,
So
I
there
like
could
your
be some
idea.
laziness in that.
I like your idea of them ending the season 2 with his snap, which would have been very,
perfect,
very daring. It would have been daring to do it that way. But then it's like, really, that's the season? But then we wouldn't have anything to complain about in the stuff afterwards. And then they could have picked up season 3 with what we saw, or at least a better version, I'm hoping, of what we saw at the very last part of this episode of season 2. So, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I like your idea. I just really, and maybe this all was in some regard a result of Alison Pill's sacking, but
I still don't.
Disappointing nonetheless. Yeah,
I mean I talked about this in the last video where we were talking about how the whole situation with Picard's mother frustrated me. It wasn't going anywhere, and then you realize, okay, yep, she hung herself, and it was because Picard, let her out of her room and that kind of thing. And so he blames himself for what she did, even though clearly that's not his fault. But as a kid and as an adult, you wonder, if I had not let her out, then, would she have done that? And so I like how it tied together that, it was Q's last gift to Picard to free him of that past that he's held on to his whole life. And, because Picard has always been alone. He's always been a loner, and he's not accepted love and family very much. He never has. I mean, that's part of the whole show too. So I like that was Q's final gift, and I like how that did actually tie everything together. To me, that really was actually very, very cool. Yeah. The whole Girardi becoming mixed with the Borg Queen, I thought was really cool too. I liked how they kind of tied together the ending as well, that is Girardi, as a Borg Queen. But you're right, that was kind of an underwhelming victory, kind of out of the blue and what happened. But I'm still standing by the whole Soong and Corey storyline was weird. Okay, yeah, because, well, if Renee Picard goes on to the ship and she discovers this thing, it's going to make, Soong's research obsolete. Okay, so he's kind of an antagonist, but it still just felt very weak and very underwhelming. And the whole, I just didn't understand it. And like, if they didn't have the Soong and Corey storyline in there at all, I wouldn't have missed anything at all. Like, I feel like the show would have probably been better. And then, oh, cool, Wesley, yay. But really, with Corey? Well, because we had to use that same actress. Okay. I don't know. It just felt weird. And by the way, I kind of liked Rios, but I was never like a major fan of Rios. I always thought he was fine. Like, he was never one of my favorite characters. I love Elnor. I really love Elnor. And I was really sad that he wasn't in most of the season because he was one of my favorite characters. Of course, I love 7 of 9. Yeah. All of the men now are disappointed about 7 of 9. Sorry, guys.
Sorry, guys.
All the guys that were in love with 7 of 9. So, I mean, I love 7 of 9. And Rafi's, she's fine too. She was never one of my favorite characters either. But, Rios, to me, it's like when he said, I'm going to stay in the past, I'm like, okay, cool. Let's move on. Let's find someone else for season 3.
I liked Rios. I liked how eclectic he was, especially in season 1 and early season 2.
I did too, but I didn't like him as much in this season. Like, fair. The fact that he had a cool ship and he had all the different holograms was really cool. I liked that.
A really weird ship, by the way. Let me talk about La Serena for a second.
Okay,
The layout, the interior layout of that ship was just really weirdly thought out. Like, it was this big long hallway, like this big long chamber, I should say.
Yeah.
And that was the whole interior. I mean, I'm sure that there were probably side rooms too, but
sure.
It was just very unorthodox. I thought that was an odd design for that ship.
It's a cargo ship, so it's probably just trying to be maximizing space. I don't know, but it was kind of interesting.
Okay, well, since it's a cargo ship, that makes a little more sense. But it's just so it's not what we're used to in Star Trek at all.
Which was nice. Something different.
Which is fine, yeah. It was, I don't list it as one of my complaints, really. It was just odd.
Yeah. Well, it's in the back here, you can see it right there. I'm pointing at it.
Yes.
But I liked the the outside of the ship looked really cool. It was kind of a neat new design. It was something different. But the inside, yeah, it was very boring. And even being in season 2, like you still, the Enterprise D had personality. I mean, even the Enterprise A and the original Enterprise, it had personality. It's like it was a living thing. That's how well they designed it. Voyager, same thing. Even Deep Space Nine towards the end of and then of course the Defiant. But La Sirena, I never got attached to. I never thought, whatever. It's a piece of machinery. And so, when Jurati / Borg Queen flies off, I'm like, bye. And then that's the other thing too, is like, and so when Rios kind of left, I thought, they kind of were writing him out. You could kind of almost tell, because he was such an integral part of season 1. And then season 2, it's kind of like, he had some issues. And then of course he was involved in that agenda episode that I wasn't a big fan of. And so it was okay. But then I'm kind of sad that he's gone, but I'm also okay with he's gone. I am sad that Alison Pill, assuming that's true, is leaving. I like her as a character. I was fascinated now with this whole Borg Queen Jurati kind of combo, and so I was excited to see where that goes, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But again, I Seven. I like Picard. I don't know.
I think that with her leaving the show, there's a good chance they're going to have to completely rethink what happens in season 3, because there's a good chance they were planning on her / Borg Queen being a main character in that season, and now that she's leaving, assuming that's true, then they're going to have to either write her out of it, write the Borg Queen out of it, which would be really awkward since the last episode of this season ended with her.
Yeah.
And or they're gonna have to recast her part. So
it would be amazing. I mean, this is just me as a fan wanting this. I think it'd be cool if season 3 was. It's kind of like, all right, this is going to be Patrick Stewart's last hurrah for Star Trek. We know that.
I hope he lasts until season 3, honestly. But
I wanted it too, but he's made it very clear that it's his last hurrah. I think it would be amazing if everyone comes back from the Next Generation that is still part of it. Wesley has a bit of a storyline as the Traveler. I'd like to hear more about what's going on with that. But it's almost like Starfleet says, we're going to give you one more mission as a crew and go fly the Enterprise, whatever the heck they're on right now, F, J, whatever. It's not going to be the J, we know that, but go fly that, get out there and do another, whatever, 5-month mission, 1-year mission, I don't care. But it's like one last hurrah, and it's like everybody comes together for like a special mission under one ship, and ideally it's an Enterprise. And we literally see season 3 as like it's TNG part 2, point 2,
TNG
2.0 or whatever.
2023,
and just let's just do it. Let's go crazy. I mean, do some side stuff. Bring Rafi in, bring Seven in, bring Elnor in, some of those people, but go for it. Make it happen and go out on a bang. And then everybody says, okay, we had to come together one more time. And then, Riker goes back into retirement. Picard goes back into everybody kind of goes back into their own ways again. But it's like one more like last hurrah. Find a way to make that happen.
Or
do something.
Or kill them all off at the end.
Yeah.
Like they sacrifice themselves to save the Federation or something. Yeah.
I just think it would be amazing. I'm ready I really want to see the other crew members. I mean, the Next Generation was about the entire crew. It wasn't just about Picard, and I love Picard, and I'm glad we've seen Riker, but we haven't seen him this season. I love Seven, but Seven was Voyager. And come on, bring back some of those other people. Why haven't we seen Janeway? I mean, come on, she's alive. Let's make this happen.
True. Yeah. Frakes directed at least one of the episodes in this season. Yeah. I know that.
And so, I think he's supposed to come back, but Geordi's going to come back, and they're talking about Crusher, Beverly Crusher's coming back. And
sweet.
I think everybody is supposed to make a return.
Yeah.
From what I've read, but again, we're still a ways out, so we'll see. But we can hope. Yeah. We can hope. So, anyway, I would like to know what you thought of Star Trek Picard season 2. Did you agree with us? Did you like the season? I mean, in some ways, I thought the season was better than the first season. I don't know why. I was more engaged with it, but the writing wasn't as good.
Did you think the ending was, engaging, or satisfying?
Yeah. Did you like the bromance between Q and Picard? Let us know. Seriously, I would really like to know what you thought. Tell us in the comments below, by the way, and let's get into the conversation here because, hey, it's just our opinion. I mean, I know I'm a longtime Star Trek fan, and so what I say is right. I mean, no, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. No, it's our opinions. But thanks for joining us. I appreciate this. Hopefully we'll be able to come back when season 3 comes out and talk more, but we'll have more coming. But do not forget, please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. YouTube, I mean, you're here, right? So subscribe, because we've got our Friday show, which is just the happy hour. We nerd out. We have a great time. Anything goes. And of course, I'm doing product reviews. We've done a lightsaber review. We've done a loft mat review. I've got more coming up. Oh yes, actually. So
Sweet.
please join us for all this stuff. Really, I've got interviews coming out, but make sure to subscribe so you do not miss all of the awesome stuff coming up. We'll have more reviews next week, but thanks for joining us, and we're going to sign off.